Hello everyone and a very warm welcome. My name's Simon Gray and we'll be getting started in just a moment. And as you'll see, there's quite a few people who are ready, which is great news, but just waiting for a few more people to turn up that I'm expecting. And just to let you know, you're in the right place if you're active in the executive job market but struggling to find success at interview. And I see some of you have found the chat box already, which is good to see. So I'll take an opportunity now to say a quick hello to a few people. Hi to Craig in London. Hello to Ben in Germany. Ari in the UAE. Ellen in London. Caroline in Manchester. And Henry in Chicago. A very warm welcome to all of you and everyone else arriving now. And I've got a lot of great information to share in the next 25 minutes or so, which will help you approach your executive job interviews in a completely different way to increase the probability of being offered the position or progressing to the next stage. Okay, so I think most people are here now, so let's get formally started. And hello and a very warm welcome to this special online event where I'm going to explain how to win at executive job interviews. And a big congratulations on making a great decision to be here, because I'm going to share with you some of the proven principles and strategies I use to help people from across the world find success at executive job interviews. A fair few of you have already found the chat function where you can interact and ask questions throughout the webinar. But a quick heads up, with so many people on the call, unfortunately, I may not get round to acknowledging or answering everyone. But if you do pop a question in the question box that I don't have time for, I'll be sure to get back to you afterwards. But here is my promise. I've got a lot of important information to share with you. And once the webinar is over, you'll have a very different understanding as to how to approach executive job interviews. And at the end, I've got something I'm going to share with you that you're not going to want to miss. So please turn off your phones, remove other distractions, and focus on what I'm excited to discuss with you, things that as a professional recruiter, it took me years to discover. I always think it's important at the start to do a quick introduction. After all, why should you listen to me over anyone else? And what gives me the authority to communicate my message? Some of you may be hearing from me for the very first time, and some of you may have read, listened to, or watched the content I create and publish online on a regular basis. Very quickly, I trained as a chartered accountant, and then without any proactive control over my own career back then, fell into the recruitment industry, where I spent over a decade of my life, first as a consultant and then as the founder and owner of my own recruitment firm. But after about 10 years in the industry, something was missing and I started to become disillusioned. And this is when I made the tough decision to leave my own company to set up Career Codex. And the missing piece was that after over 10 years in the industry, I had knowledge. Knowledge I knew would empower people like you to find success in the job market, but knowledge it was difficult for me to share while still in the recruitment profession. So through Career Codex, I now coach senior executives from across the world to define, find and secure the executive position they really want, not just the one they've happened to see advertised or had put in front of them by an executive search firm. I'm the author of 3 books, including Super Secrets of Successful Executive Job Search that you can see on screen, which on more than one occasion, I'm very proud to say, has been the best-selling book in the executive job search space on Amazon and regularly receives 5-star reviews. And if you're not connected with me on LinkedIn already, you're very welcome to do so after the webinar. So please make a note now of my username, which is Simon Gray, ACA. The title of this webinar is How to Win at Executive Job Interviews. And the first thing to say is that when I talk about winning, I don't necessarily mean being offered the position or advancing to the next stage of any interview process. Any interview is always a game of probability and not certainty. This is because people and personalities are involved, and sometimes no matter how well you perform, the chemistry just won't be right and things may not go your way. In my experience, 80% of what happens at any interview is under your control. The remaining 20% comes down to people and personalities. So what I mean by winning is taking control of this 80% in your preparation, execution and follow-up to give the best account of yourself and to tip the balance of probability in your favor. When it comes to successful executive job search and the approach I advocate through Career Codex, you have a choice. But what's surprising is that many people don't know they have one. You have a choice to react to what you see advertised or to proactively go after what you want, whether it's advertised or not. I'll say that again because it's important. You have a choice to react to what you see advertised or to proactively go after what you want, whether it's advertised or not. I explain this in much more detail in Executive Edge Online, which I'll present later. But the important thing to note here is that it's exactly the same when it comes to executive job interviews. You have a choice to react to what you're asked or to proactively position what you need to communicate at interview to get hired or progress to the next stage. And I'll say this again as it's important. You have a choice to react to what you're asked or to proactively position what you need to communicate at interview to get hired or progress to the next stage. In the executive job market, the majority do what everyone else is doing, as if it were a proven recipe for success. They rush to produce their CV or resume, push it out to as many people as possible, and then they wait. And this is a reactive approach, as it's reliant on third parties, usually executive job boards and executive search firms. And when you don't hear back in the time period you expect, or don't hear back at all, it can be very easy to become despondent and disillusioned. In the executive job interview, it's exactly the same scenario. The majority rely on and trust in the fact that the interviewer or interviewers will be experienced enough to ask the right questions to draw out the relevant skills, experience and character traits to make the right decision. But this is a mistake, and in my experience, interviewers are often inexperienced. There are fewer positions high up in any organisation, so the senior decision maker, let's assume this is the CEO in this case, will usually interview on an infrequent basis. They can be unprepared. The CEO will be busy and may not have time to review your CV or resume and any supporting documentation ahead of your interview. They also may not have been properly briefed on the role they're looking to fill. They're also often nervous. Despite being at the top of their organisation, interviewing is a skill in itself. The combination of inexperience and not being properly prepared can combine to create a nervous interviewer, even if they are the CEO. What do people do when they're nervous? Well, they often talk and talk some more. And if you've ever been in an interview where the interviewer talked and talked at you, this is probably why. If they don't ask the right questions to draw out your experience and give you little opportunity to speak, this negatively impacts your ability to make an impression and to convince the employer that you're the right candidate for the position. The message here is that you can't afford to react to what the interviewer asks, and instead, to increase the probability of you finding success, you have to take proactive control. And I'm now going to share with you 3 secrets that will help you do this. But first, let me ask you a question. At the moment, what's your past experience been when it comes to executive job interviews? Have you been more like the picture on the left or more like the one on the right on the screen? And if your current feeling is more to the left, imagine what it would feel like to be positioned to the right, where you're proactively in control of any interview scenario. How would you feel, and what messages, verbal and non-verbal, would you be sending out to your interviewer or interviewers? So Ben says, the left at the moment, I've been talked at and not known what to do. Yeah, that happens quite a lot. And Ari says, more to the left, I've lacked confidence, but it's good to hear that interviewers are nervous too. And that's an important point, Ari. Often people lack confidence because of the uncertainty of what they'll be asked, and often due to lack of preparation. Much also comes down to your beliefs about the executive job market and your position in it. I call this developing a psychology for success. And towards the end of the webinar, I'm going to explain more about Executive Edge Online, which covers this off in much more detail. For now, let's take a closer look at the first secret when it comes to finding success. Secret 1, gut feel. There are 2 things you need to be aware of in any interview environment. First, as I've explained already, the interviewer is likely to be nervous and unprepared. This can be compounded further if they're meeting a number of candidates in back-to-back interviews. This means you can't rely on them to ask the right questions for you to demonstrate your suitability for the role, and if they talk too much, they might not even give you much opportunity to speak. Second, it's unlikely that you'll be the only candidate they're meeting, and the chances are your competition for the position will have similar skills and experience. Your CV or resume may look similar, and it's highly likely that if offered, all of the candidates being interviewed would do a great job for the organisation. This means you can't just rely on communicating your skills and experience. You have to go one step further to stand out. And this step further starts with an understanding of how employers really make a decision on who to hire. And during my 10 years plus in the recruitment industry, I've taken feedback from hundreds, if not thousands of interviews. And what's interesting is that in probably 90% of cases, in response to the question I'll share with you in a moment, I got a very similar answer. And I would always ask the employer, what specifically drove your decision to offer this candidate over others you've met? And in the majority of cases, the answer came back along the lines of, well, that's a good question. It wasn't anything in particular. We just felt they stood out. No mention of specific skills or experience. After all, the other candidates will have had similar. It came down to the intangibles, a feeling, a perception that something was different, something stood out. The offered candidates influenced the interviewer's gut feel about them. They proactively influenced the interviewer's decision to hire them above anyone else. And this is something with a little practice you can do too. In its broader sense, standing out in the executive job market is about taking a different approach to everyone else. And in the interview environment, this approach is about making the interview as pleasant an experience as possible for the interviewer. I'll say that again. Making the interview as pleasant an experience as possible for the interviewer. This starts with preparation, which then sets up the higher baseline and the 90-day plan. But let's start with preparation. Preparation is the first step in proactively controlling any interview situation, but it's something many people get drastically wrong. They accept an interview on short notice and don't allow enough time to prepare properly, or they don't know how to do it. Preparation sets up execution, essentially what you do on the day of the interview. And as mentioned, I'll talk specifically about the higher baseline and 90-day plan in a moment. Then, of course, there is the follow-up, which seals everything you've done in the mind of the interviewer. Preparation has 5 levels, and the analogy I like to use here is the staircase of preparation, which in the picture on the screen is an office block with 5 levels. In your preparation, you have to reach the roof terrace, but many people get stuck in the basement with everyone else. In the basement, preparation involves reviewing the company's website, social media profiles, and your own skills and experience in relation to the challenges or opportunities the organization is facing. The first floor is where you obtain company literature and research the people you're meeting. The second floor is where you look wider than the organization to consider what's happening in the wider sector and what that means for the organization you're meeting. On the third floor, you analyze customers and suppliers and, where possible, experience the business. And then on the roof terrace, you consolidate all you've learnt in a summary and prepare your 90-day plan. So let me ask you a question. In advance of previous interviews you've had, how detailed was your preparation, and what level on the staircase of preparation did you reach? And do you see how preparation sets the foundations for effective execution and following up properly? Just so you know, we used to have a saying in the recruitment industry that it's not the best candidate that gets the job, but the best prepared. It's not the best candidate that gets the job, but the best prepared. Okay, so a few comments coming in. And most people seem to be at level 2, with a few people climbing higher. Okay, good. So having prepared, it's then on to execution. The day of the interview arrives, and how you start off dictates everything that follows. An interview is no time for small talk or discussions about the weather or your journey in. Time is always precious, particularly if you're meeting the CEO. Breaking the ice is an important part of your execution strategy and something I discuss in more detail in Executive Edge Online. From the off, your probability of success is determined by your ability to raise the level of conversation. This starts with breaking the ice and is followed by something even more important, something I call establishing a higher baseline. Having arrived in the interview room, you take control by thanking the interviewer for meeting with you and letting them know what you've done in advance to prepare. There is an important distinction here too. You don't tell the interviewer what you know. They will know this already. Instead, you let them know what you've done to prepare. And this lets them know that you have detailed knowledge about their business already. It shows them they can talk with you at a higher level, which is an important step in influencing their gut feel about you. What you tell them you've done is also designed to take the conversation in a different direction, away from standard questions they may have prepared onto something far more relevant and interesting. This is the starting point of moving the interview experience from an interrogation to a conversation. When the conversation's flowing, the interviewer is going to feel much more comfortable in your presence. You're influencing their gut feel again. I've already mentioned the 90-day plan, and this is a strategy you use when meeting the most senior decision maker in the organization, usually at second interview. It's another way to establish a higher baseline, but is even more powerful. Your 90-day plan is a written document that explains what you do in your first 90 days of employment, which you offer to share at the beginning of the interview as part of your higher baseline conversation. When my executive clients have used this strategy, in the majority of cases, the 90-day plan then forms the basis for the interview. The standard questions the interviewer will have asked your competition get put to one side, and instead there's a discussion about your plan. And here's the really important point. In discussing your 90-day plan, the interviewer begins to visualize you in the role instead of just applying for it. And I'll say that again because it's important. They begin to visualize you in the role instead of just applying for it. This strategy alone exponentially increases the probability of you being offered the position ahead of your competition. But positioning your 90-day plan requires practice, and I go into this in detail in Executive Edge Online. It's a powerful tool that very few utilize properly. If you do, it gives you that all-important edge. We're almost out of time, and what happens once the webinar is over is really up to you. Time is short, and we've only been able to scratch the surface of how to win at executive job interviews. But hopefully I've given you some new insights and ideas that you're now keen to put into practice. Imagine what this could do for your career and your life if I work with you to implement what we've just talked about. And as I've mentioned already, I do have a solution for you that if you'd like me to share with you, I'll do so now. If not, I won't. Just let me know in the chat box, please. Okay, so if people are saying yes, people are generally saying yes, that's great. So in that case, let me present Executive Edge Online. Executive Edge Online has been 15 years in the making and took nearly 6 months to build. And it consolidates my knowledge and experience from the recruitment sector and also from working with executive clients from across the world to put them in proactive control of their executive job search and to fast track their results. There are over 20 videos which expand on and explain in much more detail with examples what I've discussed in this webinar to show you how to prepare, execute with confidence and follow up like never before. Executive Edge Online is based on real-life experience, is a unique approach to executive job search, and is a proven system for success all in one place. A system which consistently delivers results. And for the next 10 minutes until the end of the webinar, there's an exclusive opportunity to join the program at a preferential rate in month 1. So what is it? Well, it's an online program that comprises over 150 videos, downloads, exercises, and an archive that is accessible 24/7, which means that you have the complete system and a step-by-step approach which gives you access to the hidden market, whatever your profession or industry sector. You have at your fingertips practical advice that's been tried and tested in real-life situations. You have access when and where you want it to fit around existing commitments and can work at your own pace or jump ahead to what's most relevant to your situation now. And also the content is continually being added to and updated. LinkedIn is constantly changing, and there are over 20 videos that provide the latest and best advice on how to use LinkedIn properly to build your personal brand. In addition to the extensive content accessible 24/7, you'll be invited to a fortnightly group coaching call, which means that as you go through the content, you'll have the opportunity to ask questions specific to your situation. You can pitch these before the call or live on the session. You'll receive ongoing mentoring and invaluable feedback from me and other members of the group. You'll discover the latest thinking and advice on what works, and you'll receive ongoing support to help you implement your strategy and continually improve. And don't worry if you can't make a session live. You can still ask your questions in advance, and a recording is always made available in the platform afterwards. What's more, in addition to access to the content 24/7 and your exclusive invitation to join the fortnightly group coaching calls, you'll also be invited to join a private LinkedIn group, which means that you can ask questions specific to your situation in between the group coaching calls. You'll gain reinforcement of the Career Codex system through useful articles and additional content, and have another opportunity to gain invaluable feedback from me and members of the group. You are no longer alone in your executive job search and have a personal support system around you. There is a wealth of experience in the group in terms of other people like you currently going through the program and also Executive Edge alumni. And as a special thank you for attending this webinar, I'd like to give you an exclusive opportunity to enroll in the program that will put you in proactive control of your career and your future, will empower you to define, find and secure the executive opportunity you really want, not just the one you've seen advertised or had presented to you by an executive search firm, and will give you access to the hidden market, executive opportunities others never see. And before I explain more, I want to ask you something. If all this program did was to help you stand up and take action, would it be worth it? You see, I believe there are two types of people in life, those who do and those who don't. And the doers get results and those who don't get left behind. And the people I'm looking to work with on this program are the doers, those ready to take action and get the results they deserve. And as you sign up for the webinar, I already know that's you. So here's what I'm going to do. Executive Edge Online runs on a monthly subscription, which you can cancel at any time. And as a special thank you for joining this webinar, I mentioned this briefly already, and to help you get started until the end of the webinar, there's an exclusive opportunity to join Executive Edge Online and take 50% off your first month subscription, which will give you access to the full system 24/7, the opportunity to attend the fortnightly group coaching calls, and entry to the private LinkedIn group. You see, right now your executive job search could be a big issue for you, but by investing in the program, everything will change. It will open your eyes to what's possible and give you the strategies and tools you need to find success. In month 2, the subscription payment will revert back to the normal rate, but to give you peace of mind, you're in complete control and can cancel your subscription in the platform at any time, no questions asked. If you decide to join for just a month, that's fine. Just make a note to cancel your subscription before the end of the month when the next payment is due. So just checking here. Okay, so Ari's in. Welcome to the program, Ari. It's great to have you on board. And also a very warm welcome to Ellen. Congratulations, Ellen, on making a great decision, and looking forward to working with you too. So as people get signed up, let me just take a quick moment to summarize what's in the program. And the program begins with an overview section and moves quickly into environment and psychology, which set firm foundations for everything you then do moving forward. The planning section walks you step by step through a series of exercises to get really focused to define the executive position you really want. Moving into the process section, there are 8 steps where I show you how to open the door to opportunities in the hidden market to find and secure the position you've defined. And this section includes over 20 videos on how to navigate the interview stage properly, expanding on what I've covered on this webinar. There's also a bonus section with special webinars that I run from time to time, and the group coaching call archive. And each section integrates to form a system for success that's helped executives from across the world to find the success they deserve. But don't just take my word for it. On the screen now, you'll see 2 testimonials from clients who have been through Executive Edge Online. Keith, the Chief Financial Officer, and Erica, an HR Director. And you'll also find other testimonials on my website, careercodex.com, and on my LinkedIn profile. So, okay, time is against us. Time is almost up, and just checking in. It's great to see a number of other people now enrolled too. So, congratulations on making a great decision, and please look out for the welcome email from me with your exclusive link to join the LinkedIn group, and I'll also be in touch in due course with your personal invite to the next group coaching call. So there's still time to join Executive Edge Online at the preferential rate in month 1, and you can do that until the countdown hits 0. But in terms of this formal presentation, we're now out of time. So just leaves me to say a big thank you for investing your time to join me. And for those already in the program, I look forward to talking with you again very, very soon.